plan last time, but like, how did these items get to the forefront? And I know that they were important. I'm not suggesting that we need to, I'm not suggesting that we need to change the order or anything, but I'm just curious how they get to be the thing that's most important.
Well, I
think just evaluate, work their way up.
Well, I think these two projects in particular, timing up when the contract is expiring, so they just kind of want to know how are things going with the vendor and what does it cost to do it in-house versus having the vendor. So it's kind of to give council some information when they're making their decision about new contractors.
So how to proceed moving forward. Great.
And if I'm not mistaken, the last time this contract, we all kind of went, oh, God, it's now, at least certainly on the audit committee. So we didn't really have a chance to dig in. It's been on the work product for a while.
Yeah.
And got pushed down and floated up, and then it was like, oh, it's too late. So we made sure to keep visibility.
Yeah.
That's my memory anyway.
Yeah. Speak.
To answer your question about how we
Just
arrived here. So, you know, each year, the audit committee has a discussion, and we kind of the committee puts word out to say, council and the mayor, you know, is there any issues that we'd like, you know, the auditor to look at? So we kind of reach out that way. The audit committee does discuss these projects, and they prioritize them. And then Jenny would come back, say, here's where we're at. Maybe we need to get more information, so we jump on another project, but there is some fluidity to the projects, or like in this case, you had projects that are kind of all co-located, which are awesome. But there's room throughout the year, any given time, to course correct on this.
Jenny spent a lot of the past year on a couple of that were moved up hugely. One was a determination of all city-owned property. Not all of which is within the city. Like, we own 93 acres on the shores of Lake Tahuya.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The school district, we own weird stuff too.
Yeah. And
YMCA camp.
that started out to be for affordable housing, and then the perceived necessity for providing shelter for people living without shelter. Accelerated it. So that took up a lot of time, a lot of database making and record reconciliation. And then we had the auditor with the landlord license compliance, like determining who might be a landlord.
That's looking at all the houses.
That was, yeah. So
Don't you consistently run into the same kind of problem in that addresses are written out differently? And
on that one, yes.
yeah, and on the city thing, it was like parcel numbers were slightly different, where they were completely different, but it was the same.
our records didn't even have parcel numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think.
So every time she gets to dig into something like this,
It's an opportunity.
God, nothing.
Enough already with the opportunity. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for humoring my question.
More opportunities.
Yeah.
Not for a while.
I did want to ask if anyone on this committee, and of course, Eric, I'm looking at you, has heard anything about a rumor that this work has already been done in the past. So this is completely at the level of rumor, and I'm just asking if anyone else. Yeah, determining if we should do it ourselves or if it should be done outside. Because it used to be done by a person named Diamond Bob who owns Diamond parking lots. So that's everything I've heard in the rumor. So I'm just wondering if anyone else has heard that.
Going back in time. So
He gets through the synopsis fire.
Diamond Bob. No, so there was a guy, I think his name was Bob. That could be correct, but he represented Diamond Park. Diamond Parking was located headquartered in Seattle, but he covered Kitsap County, and so he was our local person. Diamond Park contract. Before that, a long time ago, I believe we had parking enforcement. Just like we had, is that right, Christine? Is that ring a bell? We had parking enforcement, just like we had animal control. And the
Right.
city decided it was in their best interest to get rid of those and do the contracts. So our first contract was, for years, was with Diamond Parking, and Bob was the representative of Diamond Parking. Whether we did an analysis by the auditor's office, Christine would have better knowledge of that than me. I wasn't on the audit committee all those years, and I wasn't on council all those years either.
And that, I think that discussion predated, my working for council.
Okay.
If it was done, it was out of date, is what I would
Over
say.
20 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's over 20.
So antique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, comparatively antique.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been with a different.
And it also would have been in an era when people, had like carbon paper,
Tickets.
Yeah.
Coins, they put coins in the meter. Yeah.
coins. I remember coins.
There was no technology, they chopped tires.
Yeah, exactly.
I could hear
Erase the chalk marks. They were industrial.
snap. Okay, then let's move right along. You are still conducting cash counts at regular intervals?
Yes, we went to do some.
Okay. Well, since it's got the word surprise in it, I would prefer not to know anything more about it. I think, it would stop being a surprise. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Do you have any idea how much cash the city brings in? Are you still a high cash environment, or
Are you talking about like at the tills?
yeah?
I don't think so.
No, it's like the golf club and the cops are the biggest ones.
Oh, the conference center and the golf course have a lot of cash. But because they have cash bars at the conference center, so all the bartenders and waitresses have to have little things. And then at the golf course, they deal with cash, with no pro shop. It's a big operation.
But otherwise,
Yeah, the other ones are pretty small.
I mean,
And like finance has $10 in cash.
Right.
The police have $200.
Yeah.
Utility, or not utility, but tax and
better,
finance,
Christie?
they've turned in their drawer.
Yeah.
So
Thank
they're
you.
no longer gamble cash.
Who's that?
Finance, tax.
Oh.
Utility billing, there's still some people that come in and pay cash at the counter.
Yes, we.
It is. I think it's, well, I don't know. I had the impression that it's.
Okay, thank you for asking, letting me question.
Yeah, we try to do democracy here as often as possible.
Appreciate it.
No worries. Okay. Are they even taking cash for, water bills anymore?
Oh, for the utilities?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I think they are.
Hmm.
Right, Christine, we just got the list, requested an updated list to see who the people are that are holding the banks and are responsible for the bank.
Okay.
I was saying that tax and life turned in there.
Okay.
So they're no longer taking cash.
All right. So, these are more or less in order of priority. It's not perfect. Right, I'm assuming that's how it's always looked. So the next one is evaluating the B&O tax reporting compliance. Am I wrong?
After cash counts.
Yeah.
After tax.
So that one tends to get pushed back all the time. And it's, the city used to have, what, a $20,000 exemption, so you didn't pay tax on the first $20,000. So we have our own city, tax.
Right.
And then they increased it.
So like $500,000,
Now it's a million.
something like
Yeah,
that. But now
$1,000
it's
now.
a, now it's a
So
million.
it's just,
Yeah.
It's become less and less
report into anything. There was a sense at one time that maybe we were missing out on some money, I think, how it's landed on here. That's my memory.
Well, has anyone turned up anything? Is there?
Well, we were gonna start it at one point and then, the mayor had finance look into it. And so finance was going to, they started digging in to find out the best way to approach it and different things. So it just got pushed back.
Yeah.
And then they raised the exemption to $1 million. And it became less of a priority. Not to me, but
Eric's neutral.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric, please go ahead.
Yeah, so at one point in time, Jenny and Christine, I believe that the administration put out a request for proposals, or we're gonna sign with some outside accounting firm or some type of audit firm that specializes in B&O tax. Does that ring a bell? And we were gonna contract them with them, and they would get a cut on whatever revenues they recovered over to this. And I'm 99% sure that that's the truth. And I don't know whatever happened to that, because I don't think it ever happened. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Can you follow up on that, Christine?
Christine, am I high, or does that sound familiar too?
no, I think that sounds right.
Always a possibility, right, Eric?
Not with my current position, no, I do not smoke marijuana. But
And when I
I'm
do,
voting for the follow-up question. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So the question is about the $1 million exemption. So that applies really to small businesses. Maybe to some people, $1 million in revenue is not small business, but we have all these contractors that do business in the city of Bremerton, but are outside the city of Bremerton. But if you work here, I believe you're subject to that. And some of these contracts, of course, are millions of dollars. And I think that's the concern, is that some of these big businesses perhaps are not filing a B&O tax return. So there could be quite a bit of money on the table.
Right.
well, that seems like something great to follow up on. I mean, we've got Amazon out at the industrial area. Right?
So there's different classifications.
Assuming their revenues are higher than 1 million.
Yeah. So there's different classifications of B&O tax, and I'd have to review whether that, you know what I'm talking about, Jenny? There's different categories and different rates, and I don't know if Amazon fit into that one, holy cow. But I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think the other area of interest was like subcontractors over
Yeah.
the base.
Do we have the subcontractors at the shipyard pay us B&O tax?
Well, that was what, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it. I just know that that was something when I did talk to finance about it a few years ago, that was something that came up in the discussion, is that was a place.
An area of concern.
Well, I don't know why they wouldn't, if they're doing, is the base considered the city of Bremerton?
Yes, it is.
No?
Yeah, so if they're doing business in the city of Bremerton.
And a lot of them have offices off-site, right? Off the
Right.
base.
Yeah, so they might be located in.
Yeah. So much information at the shipyard is under the mantle of Homeland Security, of national security, that I have become less hopeful than I used to be.
Well,
But let's go for it. Let's go get these subcontractors.
yeah, and I'm not sure how I would approach that. I mean, I feel kind of small to go into the shipyard. Do
I'll
you
go
have
with
any
you.
thoughts on that, Eric?
I'll bring Lulu.
I think the first thing, I'm sure you agree with Jenny, is to get a solid grasp of what the B&O tax rules are, and working with finance department, kind of figuring all that out, and then coming up with a game plan for an audit plan to address this. I personally think that I agree with you, just thinking out loud. You're a 1.8-person shop, or I don't know what to call you, Christine. No disrespect intended, but you don't do this full time.
.8,
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
But y'all, yeah, so my point is that this outside firm, I think there's outside firms that they specialize in this, and I think it might be more efficient to have a contract, to have them with an incentive for them to have findings, legitimate findings, but it's financial incentive to find it. So
Okay,
this could
so,
take you, this could be so big, Jenny, this could take you until the end of your career. I don't know. It's that big.
And beyond.
Well, I was gonna say, but our initial investigation might indicate whether such a contract is a good
Sure.
idea.
Sure, that's true too. So maybe that might be a good idea.
well, also,
Maybe that's
because this
reasonable.
sounds like people who will like go and collect your small claims on a much larger scale, and really their willingness to take this on, if they're only in it on spec, would be a really good indicator.
An assumption that there's, yeah, it's a collections gig, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're always
Yeah.
for a percent.
Okay, so what action steps do we have here? Who wants, obviously not me, who wants to look at the B&O rules and be able to understand them? I'm happy to look at them, but couldn't do the second part.
I think we're putting the cart before the horse. This comes after the parking thing.
True.
It's gonna take months.
True. But so here's something that has come up before, Vice President, which is that like Jenny will be hung up for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
So as something that if, where you can't move forward on your regular project, I thought it would be useful to have something that would take a week or 2 that you could like pop in, so that you wouldn't be forced to go on vacation or anything like that. Okay, so can we,
So we would make it more the goal to kind of look for how the project might best be accomplished, rather than the goal be to accomplish the project.
there you go. Unless you're planning to spend the next 20 years on this.
I'm not planning to spend the next 20 years here.
Okay.
Darn.
All right. I'd let you rub Lulu's belly if you stayed. Okay. So anything else on this? And then Christine, you were gonna like see what had happened with when it was, because Eric's 99% sure it was referred to finance. Is that something that you wouldn't mind following up on?
It
Yay.
was. I mean, I remember Mike Riley and Dwayne Pitts went to a firm, I think in Bellevue, or maybe they went and talked to another city over on the east side. Maybe it wasn't Bellevue, but they went to the east side and talked to another city that had pursued the same type of project.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Well,
I don't remember the details of it.
Be good to get our hands on that report.
that
I don't
is
know if it was
definitely your
report.
department, is reading and digesting that report. Okay. Anything else on this B&O? We seem to have 2 distinct action steps. Okay. But basically we're going to how would we approach giving it to someone else rather than how would we do it ourselves?
Well, or maybe that is the answer once you look at it. That
Yeah.
is something that can be done ourselves. That's what the point of the project is.
I think
Okay.
it's kind of how we structure the project, right? Is it a contract for someone else, or is it something we can accomplish in stages, or a little bit of both? Maybe one component A and one component B.
Or, I mean, is the city in the business of collections on anything else?
Well, I don't know if this is collections per se, as much as it's compliance.
It's fine.
Okay, but you don't want them just to improve their compliance, you want them to give you the money.
Yeah.
Okay, if one, yeah. So, okay,
Look at it like a collection agent.
Like a finder's fee.
Yeah.
Hunt down the people who aren't paying you.
it's, yeah, like the more money is involved, the higher class it gets. Yes, it's simply compliance. We are urging compliance. Okay. Anything else on this B&O before we move on to the next thing? Going once. Okay, thank you, Marwan. Written policy compilation. Has there been? Okay, so we're changing the status of, I'm sorry to move back. We're changing the status of the B&O to like a couple of, whatever's the formal language, Christine, for a couple of preliminary moves.
So it's plan,
Preliminary planning.
There you go.
or just. We're gonna do it.
So what was the genesis of the written policy compilation? That predates me.
That was our former CPA.
The guy that was here forever, or the guy that was here for a heartbeat?
The heartbeat.
The second heartbeat.
Yeah.
We had two heartbeats. We had a nice heartbeat.
He was with the gaming company or something?
No.
Okay. He was right, but he was up here,
Anyway,
some kind of tech, anyhow.
anyway, he was our former CPA, and we thought it would be nice if we had like an inventory of all of the policies that the city
Okay.
His thought was that then we know what we're auditing, or what needs audit. Policy.
Is there not a policy manual currently?
I have not seen one.
They don't have the policies listed online or anything?
I have not seen that.
Interesting.
Get for
The agenda bill
So
policy,
it'll probably be broken out by the. I don't think there's like.
And
an
it's
individual-
in-house, it's set up for staff.
right, but it would still be good to know what the policy is.
Are they really policies? Are they?
Are they voted on by anyone? They are directives signed by the mayor.
So the mayor is making those policies.
Interesting.
Well, I would love to see a policy manual. For so many things, like there's a policy about speed humps. Did you know that? I did not. I did not know that there was an actual.
Because it's been a hot topic in our neighborhood. We found out through, the fire department years ago.
Yeah.
Only land.
Well, like I knew that there was, you had to, I'm sorry, I'm digressing, but I promised to come right back. But like I knew, for example, that the policy called for, you have to get 70% of the neighbors to buy in. But the other way you can get there is just have the Public Works Committee request it.
Oh,
Yeah, so like when you see the actual written policy,
or, there's big or.
yeah, yeah. So I think it'd be great for us to have, like, for our policies to be transparent.
This was, of course, as is noted in the objective description, was particularly with an eye of things that deal with money.
Well,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll speak from my own perspective. It seems like it's not an audit function, like an audit committee function. It seems like something that either the council would recommend to the mayor, just if the council gives the mayor the directive. I'm assuming it works that way for you guys.
we are the legislative body. We
right,
are
with the
charged by
legislative
the
body
charter with creating policy.
under the guise of transparency of government.
Okay. So I'm writing move to council.
And this is my recommendation.
Yeah.
I will say as staff, it's available by department over there.
It's online.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, it would be great. And just like knowing where it's all right there would be helpful. And I personally would expand it. But for the audit committee, we're moving this to the council and our work plan drops 5 pounds. Okay. Anybody disagree with moving it to council? I mean, I'm happy to do that. Eric, do you agree with that?
I'm trying to think what you're moving to council. Christine is indicating that all the policies are online and available to employees. If that is the case, I'm not so sure what the issue is.
Well, Do you know the policy for purchasing and procurement? Because I do not.
Right, but what I'm saying is that you also are a quasi-employee, you're an elected official, but you have access to the Bremerton systems, Cobweb, or wherever it's located. You should be able, if that is the case, you should be able to find that policy and look it up yourself currently. If that's not the case, then bring it up before council. But if that is the case, I don't think there's an issue.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was skipping that step. Like, obviously, I will go to Cobweb.
Okay.
But
There may be an opportunity to improve access, right? There might be an opportunity to make it more readily available or apparent.
okay. So can we add this to the minutes that I'm gonna see if I can find all of these on Cobweb, and if I cannot, I will check with you. There'll be an intermediate step. And then if it's still not readily available to a lay person, I'm sure we all agree that I am the most lay person, that I will then move it to council. Okay, that was an excellent suggestion. Thank you,
I'm gonna
CPA
go.
Medina.
I'm gonna go, my job is done.
I work with
Don't go.
the-
Don't go. Okay. That wasn't fun.
If you leave now, you won't get paid for tonight's meeting.
That's right.
Plus, no cake.
No cake for
Oh.
her.
Okay. All right, so. All right, so we're moving right along on written policy compilation. We've taken it away from the audit committee and it will vanish like smoke and disappear. Fixed assets, I don't even know what PP&E stands for in this context.
Something property and equipment.
Property plant.
Property, plant, equipment, thank you.
Thank you. Review the internal controls of fixed assets.
How do we safeguard them? How do we keep them from walking off?
Ah,
How do we define what a small, attractive asset is?
Yeah.
Small and attractive
Exactly.
asset.
Well,
That's
these are
all.
not, this would not be the small and attractive asset.
Just the large.
These are the big sewer pipe.
Backhoe.
okay.
Yeah.
So this is basically security, anti-theft, anti-sabotage.
It's just general control, right?
How do we safeguard the assets?
Well, don't we just lock them up?
Well, sort of.
Depends on the job.
I mean, all the sewer pipe have been endorsed across the street from the square dance hall.
I have not, but I have
So
been.
You'll see there's a fenced area. It is
Yeah.
fenced. And it's sewer pipe. Not a lot of people want to steal sewer pipe.
Not a lot of people have the ability.
Right. It's very big, very
Yeah.
heavy. Anyway, that's some of it.
Okay,
Other-
okay. So this is not facilities, these are assets. Okay. All right, well, and the genesis of this was, why is this on our work plan?
I think it's just kind of a standard item
Okay,
that gets on audit plans, you know,
okay,
that occasionally gets looked at. I don't think it has any height.
okay.
Can have a high financial risk to it.
Mhm.
It can.
What all of our assets. Could be that assets aren't on the books.
Mm-hmm.
That might be it.
Well, that would be bad. You know, we have an
Like when you
asset,
sell something, you forget to take it off.
you forget. It slips your mind.
Goes to the wrong person. They forget to take it off. They don't know to take it off. They're on vacation that week.
Or they take the wrong asset.
Yeah, that's happening for us.
Yeah, okay, well, I can think of situations in which that exact thing has happened.
So is it size and value?
What's up, Marmon?
Is it size and value? So a tractor is big, but it's also expensive, but it could be something small that's of value. Would that count under this?
I don't know.
I think the question is where are our thresholds on what she's gonna look at and not.
Yes.
We had an item about small and attractive assets that we looked at, and Eric's got his hand up.
Thank you, Deborah. Eric, please go ahead.
So this goes to your policy question. Does the city have a accountable property? Do we even have barcode scanners? Do we do pins? I don't know the answer to any of that. If we don't, we're not with the 21st century.
Okay.
Do people, Christine, do you have a property card with property assigned to you? Nope. I think I know the answer to this then. So.
We have,
Yep, tags
Oh,
on our.
yes, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the policy.
So on computers, and so there's a materiality in place there. And what is the policy? Things I can easily walk away, like Marlon was talking about.
Right.
So there's equipment that's issued to employees, and then there's inventory, like the sewer pipe. Do you need to have strict accountability for that if it's secure and it's a large item? No, but things like, if you go to the forestry department, chainsaws, how are those accounted for? Do they walk away? Because that's something that can be easily converted. I don't know what the policy is. I know historically in years past, things have walked away, and who's responsible for it? I think that's why it was on the audit.
Well, we used to have an item on here for small attractive assets. I don't know where we see it on there.
Yeah,
We didn't do it.
And we never did it.
And it was just so attractive that it wandered off to somebody else's workload.
There was a policy adopted by the city in 2022.
Oh, so that may have been why it dropped from the plan. It was-
For small
So-
attractive assets.
So maybe,
Why would we
maybe
drop it from
something,
the plan?
well, so maybe what we add back. to the
Because we have
plan
a
is that there's
policy?
Compliance with the policy, right?
But it's not just that you have a policy.
That's what I mean, we get
Yeah.
compliance.
It shouldn't fall.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm adding, so first, we need to answer the musical question, what's our policy on securing fixed assets and restore, what a great, small, attractive assets.
According to the longstanding city policy, the threshold starts with initial cost 2,500 or more.
2,500. My
Wow.
God.
That
Okay.
seems too high.
That's really high. So it would be interesting to figure out what this.
That's for
what
the
this-
small attractive assets?
This was just.
You figure out what this policy is, and then, as stated, are they in compliance? And then instead of doing cash audits, you do an inventory audit. You do an office review and look at their property cards and see, okay, where is this item? Is it in your possession? Just, or as it has been disposed of. Oh, you said it was disposed of. You have procedures in place saying there's got to be a witness watching its disposal besides you, whatever the procedures are, and was that followed?
Yeah, okay. And there's no databases of property record involved in this?
Oh.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, in the sense of parcels.
No, they won't be.
Yes.
You had your hand up? Yeah. First, to speak to my role with staff that we, Jenny and previous auditors, we've done spot checks on IT related equipment. We would get a random sample and we'd go out and find all sorts of things. And then we also have gone in and cross-checked with Public Works at their year-end inventory, all sorts of things, small, large equipment, you name it. So there have been cross-checks over the years that just want to throw that out.
Okay.
Christine, a general question for you. Does the city have property management software to track all this, or is it by department? Do you know?
I'm not clear on that one. I would have to follow up on that.
Has
On
Terrell,
that stuff that's
has Terrell put that on Cartograph? Because that was, yeah, go for it. Never need to ask.
Is Cartograph property software, property tracking software?
It seems to be a software that instead of tracking department by department, tracks citywide. and looking at how and if you're going to manage assets, I would imagine that you would want to have a list of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think it'd be worthwhile talking to Terrell, whose
Sure.
name last name I cannot recall. I'm so sorry. Terrell is the asset manager. We hired him in early 23. Is that correct, Christine? Late 22.
I remember hearing
Yeah.
an asset manager, I didn't know his name.
Yeah. He is.
He's in finance.
He has an office at Public Works. I mean, he's basically moving from department to department and looking at assets. But his first thing that he did was to find a software, one ring to rule them all, that would cover all of the assets. And it's called Cartograph. And there you take me to not completely my limit. Yeah, but really near it. It's a place in which, for example, now when people are down in the basement underneath the pump at the end of just outside Evergreen Park, they used to write everything down and then hand those to. But now everything is inputted on their iPad or whatever, and it feeds into Cartograph and becomes part of the data stream. It skips that step of like, if you're down working with a pump, oil and grease and dirt readily accrue. So this just keeps it moving right along, and it creates not just a day-to-day record, but a permanent record that you can search for trends and patterns. So now we're getting near the edge of my knowledge. Yeah. Okay, so somebody's got to bell that cat. I will be happy to talk to Terrell unless we think that there's somebody better.
I'm happy to send the email, like this, just the general question. Do the records, are they centralized or are they living with each department?
Yeah, and Cartograph, according to Director Naki, Terrell basically goes into his office, closes the door, and works all day. So, and that sounds like someone who's juggling lots of plates to me. Like when you're working on a project where you can't just stop and have a chat because you're just going, whoa. Okay, so you'll send an email and you'll CC us or me. Okay, great. Okay, all right. Well, this seems like it was going to be a nothing burger, and it was not. Okay. Anything else on plant, property, and equipment? Property, plant, and equipment. Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. This next one is really, really, really dear to my heart. And very specifically in terms of getting us a communications manager. Melinda is not in a position to do it. Finance is doing it. It's been referred to finance as something that they would do. My experience with finance is if their plate is either full or overflowing, but they don't have other states. So is this something that you could do to look at the contracts and the hours spent and to determine, hey, late, Fiat Lux. All right.
Certain time of day.
A certain time of day, and we're not moving around enough.
Yeah.
Oh,
You are being a superb canine. Superb.
Because in my opinion, and I believe I have a majority of council with me, I could be wrong, but it's more than two other it's at least two other counselors who think that a communications manager who could speak in plain language, who could perhaps work with the budget to turn the budget into plain language, and to be consistent across the departments. A move to resist and siloization, and to make sure that we are reaching out to the people that we represent in a way that they can understand. So that's the aspect of this next one that most strongly interests me. Just in case you guys thought I was ambivalent here.
Would this be something that HR would look at?
I mean, lots of people could do it. I
They
imagine.
would look at the cost of hiring a consultant or hiring an employee.
Well, I've done that.
If we had a job description.
I
you're looking for it.
I got 3 job descriptions and 3 salaries, and I spoke to the Corey Brazitas, my constituent, who is also she's the King County, she's like above the communications manager. She's been doing this for decades. And I independently got from cities that we are frequently compared with, like, Lakewood, whenever we do those comparisons. And it appears, or at least at the end of last year, and including benefits and everything that one would need to include, that it would cost us between $100,000 and $125,000 a year. This year, the $500,000 transportation that we paid to a consultant for the transportation element of the comprehensive plan included $128,000 to PPR strictly for outreach and communication. So, and if
And
we,
is it the same role that this person, theoretical person would have been?
it's a pattern that is repeated over and over, which is you send out a survey, you have an open house, you have a virtual open house, perhaps you'll send out an additional survey or have an additional open house.
Design threats, et cetera.
Yeah, you post a survey on the web, you publicize it in various ways, and just think how much more powerful that would be if it were consistent, if the same person were doing it, and if that same person were responsible to the people of Bremerton, directly working for them, as opposed to being a consultant or a subcontractor of a consultant, which is I don't think anyone's being unprofessional, but you're not going to have that same direct connection. That's a minor point. To me, the big thing is it would be consistent. It would be in plain language, not in jargon, right? Or what's the better word than jargon? In professional, in language particular to a single profession.
Yeah. Okay.
Vernacular is more like what I'm trying to get to.
It'd be less specialized language, certainly.
Yeah.
Would not be couched in the terms that only speak to the industry.
Yeah.
But Anna, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
That's how we show we're interested in my culture.
you've done this, you personally have done this work already.
And presented it to council, yes.
So what's the audit committee's job?
Well, the desire, and Eric, really jump in here anytime I'm incorrect, because I'd rather be wrong than, passionate. I'd rather be right than passionate. There we go. I knew I'd get it sooner or later. We don't have the knowledge or the access. Council does not have the knowledge or the access to go through and say, how much time is your department spending on outreach, on composing and conducting surveys? We don't have the knowledge to look through contracts and say, what part of this contract is just for outreach and communications? So that's what.
Okay, that's clearer to me now.
Okay, good.
Cost benefit analysis.
Yeah, basically we need, like, I talked to Director Riley, who said that, where are we going to find the money for it? And I said, here's where we'd find the money for it. But Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Consultant could work with it. An employee could work with consultants on that piece of it, for example, on the recent comp.
Yeah.
As an example.
Yeah. And turned it into plain language.
And also probably have a body of work because they're responsible for it that they can look back on instead of having to do what we would do and go by department. Right?
Yeah. Like my undergraduate was in clinical psych. And so I learned how to put together like a survey that was, neutral. Well, also neutral. It wasn't pushing, you don't want to be pushing for a particular answer. And that's a skill. I'm trying not to mention particulars. I have seen a number of employees attempt to pull together a survey, and it's difficult to do it because it's a skill. It's something you learn how to do. It's one of those things where goodwill isn't quite enough, and working hard isn't quite enough. Like, I've got a lot of goodwill, and I could work really hard. I could never do it. Just never. So this is another of those things. So that's it. I think that in an era when people don't trust government, the more that they can trust government and understand what government is saying to them and be able to make meaningful comment, that I would like us to be an island of trustworthiness. Sorry, please go on.
Well, I'll just say that, given your passion for this, I don't know if the rest of the committee shares the passion, but,
No, I go.
usually items that you're passionate about tend to be up further, because we're talking about items now that are a
I know.
long ways out.
I know.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
I know. If the rest of the committee at some point goes, oh my gosh, Anna, we should totally move that up, that'd be great. And if they don't, yeah. Okay. So anything else on this one? Anyone else want to deliver themselves of a long diatribe? Okay. All right, so awaiting, so on this one, we are awaiting Godot.
We're doing what?
We're awaiting Godot. Waiting for Godot. We're just like, if at some point people go, oh my gosh, that Anna was completely right. We're going to storm City Hall with banners and make that the top priority. But until that point, it'll just live down here. Yeah. Watershed forest management practices review. This is one that I specifically asked for. Like, here's it. 20, yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. We clear cut our watershed yearly. We have a contract with, I believe still, we have a contract with Lusignan Forestry to do so. We have a forester whose the core of his job description is to manage the harvest and the access to the harvest, et cetera, et cetera. The FCS group was supposed to be doing this analysis that's supposed to happen at the end of this year.
The end of this year?
Yeah. So just waiting on this one. Are you okay? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Keep waiting.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Jenny, I'm going to let you do the next one because the audit credit transaction and purchase order controls.
Christine, isn't this one that you used to do regularly?
And then
Well, I think that, you get a check claims register.
Yeah.
Periodically, is that?
Twice a month.
Twice a month. And so Christine used to select, random sample, I don't know if it's totally random, but a select sample of items to audit, just to see if they're reasonable expenditures, and then go back and look to see if the documentation was there to approve the expense.
Okay.
That's what it's related to. Is that right, Christine?
Okay. Is this something you're still doing?
I've been spot checking, but not doing a comprehensive review. There's not been resource time to do that.
I was gonna say that was back in the day when you were.
It was full time.
More of your time, yeah.
You used to work for the audit with the auditor for more than 0.8 out, with more than 0.8 for more
No,
time?
when we did not have to manage meetings, and it was just a different environment. I had time freed up. I used to look at plans and checks at least monthly. Yeah, at least.
Which meeting, like managing this audit committee meeting, you mean? Okay.
Well, and you manage other meetings for council as well, not your council.
Okay.
It's a
We used to
different
not be
environment
subject to OPMA,
Yeah.
and now she has to do a lot of steps.
Yeah, just jump right in this crowd.
When SAO audits your financials, do they perform the same type of check on these transactions?
I'm not looking to see exactly who they
They have very specific areas that they would look at, or if they're reviewing a department, they would roll that in.
So this isn't covered under that, and you're not duplicating efforts in any way. I know yours do random, but theirs would be random too.
Okay. All right, does anyone wish to do anything about this, other than to, like,
Were there any specific concerns that have arisen? Or do you ever find anything when you do your spot check?
You know, it's usually more informative, especially if you see a vendor you've not seen before. It is interesting, say the city contracts for a project and there's a vendor payment. You can kind of see, oh, you know, they got, you know, are they within the amount that the city authorized, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then timing of change orders. But yeah, I would go in and look at documentation to make sure that, you know, that everything that was on the claim, there was no documentation behind it. I think email, invoices.
And I'll say that this item, as it's described here, is actually going beyond what Pepsi was doing.
All right.
Yes.
And without looking at the policy, I can't elaborate.
Okay.
And you're right, this is the next level up.
So are we happy to let this lurk? Okay. In my opinion, the next two things are currently declined, and I'm happy with that. And since I proposed them, I just thought I'd pass that on.
If they're currently declined, do we just take them off the list? Or do we leave them on there as a legacy?
Or a sop to my self-esteem.
I would say that if you still have interest in it on it, that you might just let it ride. I guess it did cost one extra sheet of paper.
I actually was thinking that exact thing.
So those
We added an item.
But we added
Oh,
the
you're
small
right.
attractive
It
assets.
was to
Yeah.
base our decision on whether or not it results in an extra piece of paper.
Okay.
But you could, we put them on there knowing that they're declined just because it's kind of a placeholder in case
Somebody else
changed.
It certainly would be nice if we could do childcare. Yeah. Okay. I feel we have discussed the work plan. Everybody feel the work plan has been thoroughly discussed?
I do feel that way.
Okay.
Great.
Marwan, Eric, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm good.
We could start at the end and work back to the beginning if you'd like.
No, I already had told my wife the meeting would be about a half an hour.
I thought it would be 5 minutes. No idea.
Okay. Well, it was really a revelation to me, several of the items, the things that Eric and Jenny and Deborah and Christine and Rosalind said. So it was, yeah, it made me smarter.
Done a couple times a year.
Okay. But perhaps not after Eric has told his wife it'd be a half an hour. Okay.
Let's know your time constraint first next time.
Yeah. Now let us know how long you have.
All right. So, all right, ready? So the next audit committee chair report, agenda item 5. The next audit committee chair report to city council will be on 28th August 2024. I will hit the high spots of this. Mostly it was that we reviewed the work plan. Agenda item 6, our next scheduled meeting is 23rd September 2024. I will not be bringing cake, but if others wish to do so, please go right ahead. Does anyone have anything for good of the order? I declare the 26th August 2024 meeting of the Audit Committee adjourned.
Thank you.